After you, Luis.
Okay, Emil, thank you. First, you exposed me how old am I with saying that you watched me play at 14 years old. So been a long time not being in Poland, but it's a pleasure being here with you and also with your new project with the World Football Coaches. When you ask me always, I just want to share a little bit of my process, right? When you ask me about the topic, I just feel obviously comfortable speaking about something that has create some type of results in terms of my own process. So I'm gonna dig it a little bit of what it is about, explain the whole process of how I do it, what I do, how I do it, and what it works for me. This is not the truth, but it's a little bit in terms of trying to be myself as much as objective as possible and information given here for myself. So we'll talk about a little bit about exploring space behind the backline, in front of the backline, spaces that can be exploited, which most common by people talks about being box occupation. How do we position ourselves and how can we put ourselves in the best possible to score goals, right? So I think so you can kind of talk a little bit about myself already. So I'm going to skip this part. I'm just currently working for San Luis City. I coach with the under 21s, which is kind of mix of 18s and 19 years old in the UPSL league. I help a little bit with the next pro and obviously my background there in the screen. So the first, like I said, the learning intention, what do I want to accomplish? It's hard in a 45-minute plus trying to get a couple questions towards the end in an hour-ish, try to get the most information as possible, even though it's people can go and watch it again. Like I said, this is my process. Can you take pieces from this process? So the learning intention from myself for you guys, it is to try to help you understand what are the best spaces that you can explore in the box while you are trying to score a goal, why it's important, the process, my process, like I mentioned again, and I will show you with some real game situations and examples of how that area can be exploited the most and where to cross, where to take a shot, where to find a pass, and how to finish, and how to become the best progress and good passing options in the box. Because at the end, the game is about winning 1-0, right? And that's the task, to score a goal. So how can we get information from this? So here's my learning process. This is my process, right? In terms of I would say more than a couple of years, I started doing like a kind of a research of how can we score more goals, right? We hear all this about how can we make our teams successful in the final third in the front side of the field. So I'm going to explain what is box occupation for myself, right? Where it comes from, why it's important. And then within that research problem that I had years ago, it is how could I improve the ability to improve the box occupation. Then I'm going to show you what I took some hypothetical solutions and try to understand and know more about what is box occupation and how can we able to explore those spaces. And then it is deciding how can I apply it. So how I do it, it is important how I design the exercises, right? And how do I implement it on a daily basis in my training. And then I'm gonna obviously show you the practice side, which that's the theory part. But on the practice side I'm gonna show you the testing of my own process, which means my assessing data, real situations, training environment, so you can see and pick pieces from that. Okay, so I define as box occupation just to try to communicate to yourselves in terms of my definition is the spaces that need to be occupied in the box. So how can we find something for the box occupation, it is, okay, it is the space that I need to occupy, mean positioning inside the box. So I use a main principle for this, which is what is the topic, right? How can I exploit space as a collective from the collective side? How can we as a team get in behind the back line or in the front line if it is necessary as a first step before we get into the back? And as a sub principle, I use how can I create that space, how I become a progress option, and how can I find that progress option in order to score goals. And some of the actions that I speak about on this is crossing, dribbling, receiving, or marking, shooting, and finishing, right? So those are the main actions. You can see one and the other, but those are the ones that I focus the most in regards of my environment. Okay, where it comes from and why it's important. Like I mentioned before, just quick, is create goal score opportunities versus a low block, mid block. After a position is organized, how can we make sure that we are creating those goal opportunities? And then obviously finalize the attack, right? Can we make our frontline players, that means our 9, our 10s, our wide players, our inside players, whatever you name it in your environment, how can they become better in all the player actions that I just discussed, and how can they able to score goals? And obviously the game is about winning, right? So how can we win games? Okay, so here where I kind of pick up my brain in terms of how can I make better this? How can I create a better ability to improve that, right? So what are the spaces that need to be exploited? What are the most common soccer actions, and how do they need to get improved? And the next step was, how can we improve that ability of knowing exactly what is the space that needed to exploit, what is the exactly position that could help, and that is by either on marking, by the crosser, who needs to cross, where do needs to exploit the space, where does need to be send that pass, where does it need to send that cross, where does it need to finish and shoot. So the first thing it is okay, based on now I know what it is about, how can I understand it and apply it? So I created something on my head, okay, what it could be the solution in order to improve it on a daily basis and become better. So I don't know if you're familiar with the guy on the left side, which is Beanie from the Ace, the baseball, which he's a data analytics. So he's believing from the Ace work. There's a movie even from him. So he uses a lot of data in terms of obviously for baseball, right? So as we all know, there's more familiarity now in the common days where we use more data as well in our soccer or football environments. So I start thinking, okay, how can I use this data? And this part of I need to understand the data. I need to know first know that data, understand it, and also what is the meaning of that data? How can I apply it? So that was my thinking. Okay, the solution it is, how can I apply that data? But before that, I need to understand that data. I need to know what it is about. So this is just a few examples of what you see there. This is nothing that it is from my own. This is what it is out there from the data. And now you can hear something about field. For example, is a simple way of showing what is the dominant between the team's territory that they get in the front third, right? To put it in a simple words, is the measure that share the possession with meaningful passes in the game and the touches that they go only on the front third. That's something that I didn't know before. That's why I said when I started being curious about knowing about the data, okay, because the data is meaningful, but we need to understand them before even we go to apply it. Then this is the most famous one lately, right? So it's expected goals. So, nothing new here for you. You might hear it as well. So it's a metric that assigns every shot probability, right? Based on all the stats. And it's a measurement of how likely, how can we possible goal scoring chance will be taken. This is not, there's a different matrix of up, but at the end it is collecting people, collecting information and making, okay, where is that the most things happen, or in this case, the goals, right? So it's another metric that allows the study to hear in a lot of matches with predictions of what could happen or who can have more prediction of score goals based on their chances or the touches in the box, in the occupation box. Then I found this pretty good article, just as an example, right? From doing research, like I said, reading a lot of things about data analytics. And as we can see, this is not mine. This is from Jamie Moore and Carl Captor. They did like a soccer analysis, a football analysis about, you know, all the zones and the layout where the coaches all over the world were, you know, kind of have the zones where key distribution, where's the through balls, what they define this as for them, right? The most key passes that can happen, right? So there's more collection of data. I'm just putting another example of how it works, just to maintain it with the same article. You know, here's more as well. Where does it comes to the through ball? Where does it come the cutback? Where it comes across? Where is a progressive? What is a long ball? So all this is when I start reading all these articles, it is, I don't want to try to put more things into my head and just not understand it. I started, okay, what it comes from, why it's happening, and can I dig more into this? So as a preview coming from this screen, it's just the through ball and the cutback are the percentage of goals that happen the most in the box, right? Which they define in this particular case, the through ball, just a passing behind the line. So meaning when they exploit in the box with the last pass, and the cutback means with a cross. Within that cross, they define it from the far lanes, who means these far zones in the side lanes, which I call it side lanes, which is the far channels or the far progressive. It is a combination between them. And then long ball, obviously a long pass that arrive in the box, and still you can still exploit space by that. Head pass. So this is just another more information from them, right? How they define it. So I started creating also my own vocabulary, my own thinking that can help my own environment, knowing this information. So here's another one from the same example. Oh, by the way, this was done from 15 to 20 EPL, right? German Bundesliga, Serie A, Spanish La Liga, and Major League Soccer, where they took all these goals, in this case, all these goals per 100 pass attempts, and they saw that the most crosses are relative inefficient, so meaning the crosses from the side lanes, right? And the most efficient is a through ball, to get it into a through ball, and then also the cutback, meaning from exploring the areas, which I will explain more in depth. I just want to put you into context, right? Based on this information. Like I said, this is not my information. This is one of the many things out there, but it just gives a lot of similarity in the data analytics that comes through this one. And then here's another one. So from the other side, crosses are the most attempts, so meaning the side lane crosses, passing to zone 17, which is in front of the PK spot, penalty kick spot. And while through balls is the least attempted, even though that there is a lot of attempts within that, there's still people, and in terms of teams, they do it the less. So they try less, they try more other things. And what it is, where it comes more goals, they do the least. So meaning people wants to cross from the side lanes, from the far lanes, they want to do more into other things. And that comes in relationship from the style of play, of obviously of the multiple teams that we have around the world. But within this information, for me, is already giving me and knowing it and understanding, okay, so it makes no sense if I'm just trying to put a little bit of logic. So if we get the most goals from through balls and cutbacks inside of areas, why people is trying to do the least of this? So why people is trying, because, and this is where it becomes tricky, right, with the information, because that doesn't mean you can't do it, but I always said, why there's always something better out there. So why I'm not gonna try what is best, right? So then this is another, like I said, it's just another piece from the set. This is another from another source, Gonzalez Rodina, which he talks about another study about the system percentage, right? And this is another metric where every shot probability comes, where does it comes, right? And then the type of assist preceding the event. So meaning This allows as well more results of all different matches of the predictability of how can we create, and not thinking of it is, can I just keep trying just by luck and doing things without not understanding. So if you see here, the yellow marks, it is the highest percentage of those assists comes from. So here's the definition. So within, if I join it with the previous article, what it says here is 1.0, these areas, right? The 7.2 is defining as the early cross, right? And then the 10.8, it is a through ball, and the 10.8 and 8.2 in the half lanes, which is this is the half side lanes, center lane. From this two half lanes, I see higher percentage, which is a 10.8 and 8.2. So this is where I started thinking, okay, hold a second. There's more information here that tells me what there's more probabilities, and how can I start implementing this. So, okay, here comes my process, right? From the designing and implementing, now knowing all this data, trying to understand it. So here comes my own process in terms of, okay, now that I know and understand, how can I apply it, right? So this is from the part of my decision of what do I need to do to get better in the box occupation. So the first is create my own longitudinal data, so meaning my own vocabulary, my own research, my own exploration, and can I make sure that, see if it works, because at the end it cannot work and this could be all nonsense, but I'm gonna prove on the past 2.5 years or 3 years almost, where I've been implementing it, it has given some results. So then is the implementation plan, right? So how can I organize all these ideas that I have? How can I collect all the observations based on the principles, the connection, the context, and everything that I'm doing? So then is the next step is structure, set of data, observations. So it's start watching videos of high level, the top teams, based on the information that you just saw. How can I see it as well? Because I need a visual if this data matches my interpretation of also what I've seen before. So then it's creating a strategy for analysis. So meaning, how can I synthesize all the data? And then the next one is see if it works and able to score goals, right? And this obviously will make us to win games. Okay, so the first one, it is to show you, I started watching all these situations, right? And this is the part where I started testing, right? So I started testing, and by testing I mean I started looking at videos. I have created a library now. I'm thinking about 150 clips, where I'm going to show you a few here. I can't show you all of them, but I'm going to show you a few of them. And then I got also a team. In this case is a Bundesliga team, Hoffenheim, when I got 2 players, front players, and I started watching their data, watching where they were crossing, watching what they were doing, and kind of just to give you an example, of all these situations gave me 2 conclusions, right? And I started, how can I implement it better? So at least we raise versus good defending, can we raise our exploiting space in behind or in front in the best way possible? So here's the first thing with the case that I told you about Hoffenheim. When I started seeing where the crosses were coming from, right? The success that they have even on their own team, it's all on the left side, based on doing and exploring the space, and where we saw the expected assist versus someone that is doing assists, trying to do assists from the far lanes, or with early crosses, not doing it in the best way possible. They're still within their own club. And based on this analysis, right, I'm not in the club, but can I see with that data? It just gives me more interpretation of, okay, even in one club, one side doing versus, and it could be the style, it could be that's the intention of them. I don't know it, but within the data, how can I steal that even within that environment? Basically, to resume everything on the left side works, and on the right side doesn't work. On the left side, they have more chances on goal, more opportunities on goal. On the right side, they don't have more opportunities on goal. On the left side, they score more goals. On the right side, they don't score many goals as well. This is from their season, their past season. Last season, not this one. I haven't done it for this season. I done it for last season. So here's another example as well, right? And then I started, okay, so I started with what doesn't work versus what it works. So I'm going to show you all the different, what you kind of saw, different clips with where the position of the players were, or what is the intention of the team at that moment. And you can see there's a slightly different. And this is the collection of all this 150 clips that I start seeing some patterns, and patterns, because at the end is what it is. And the patterns it is, okay, can the players recognize the pattern based on a decision that they have to make in the box? But the decision that they're going to make in the box is going to depend obviously of the backline, right? So if they know, there's always, we can be in a slightly advantage where we can still score goals in the box if we move correctly. So here is the, like I said, the whole process for me was watching tons and tons and tons of situations, tons and tons of clips, and how can I make it perfect and how can I make it better? So now I put it into context, right? After this, knowing, understanding, applying, knowing about the research, how can I make people better? How can I make my forwards? So just to put you a little bit on context, my own data, right, in terms of doing it for the last 2.5 years. So these are different seasons within the players that I have, right? So the spring season, so there's an example. The two top guys are the nines, are number 9, are front players, right? So we have front players. So just collecting the information of data as well. How can I improve not only data from the past, but also how can I improve my own data? Because there's a lot of variables, right? And obviously within is going to be a lot of things that could change, but how can I still make better? So in the first one is the 2 nines, right? The third one, it is a 9 that is not longer in the program, but he was as well. So he was, since I started taking care of these situations and obviously the teams that I coach, is how can I improve the ability, what I mentioned before, the ability of those players, right? And like I said, there's within the data, there's always variables. What are the variables? The variables is that I take in consideration as well. It is the level of the player, the level of the teams that we're playing, the opponents, the defending of the opponents. But there's one thing that doesn't change. So within your efficiency, within your own, so meaning if you have 25 actions, right? And you have 25 actions, you're able, and we do that internal as well. Within those 25 actions, I'm able to raise the standard of my own actions while I'm in the box, right? So if I have 25 actions, can I score 3 goals? And the next one, if I have 25 actions again, can I score 4 goals? And on and on and on. And like I said, this is just something to keep and maintain ourselves in order within that data. So the next thing was how I started seeing the top guy, right? His position and the direction of how he run in the box. So that was what got me also, okay, the curiosity on those two on the top. How can I make them better and how can I maintain their action? So as you see, the first one, it is in the first one, he scored 1 goal out of 14 games. Then the next season, he scored 2 goals out of 16 games. And then obviously he changed into a different environment. And then within the first season, he scored 9 goals in 12 games, only started. So if you take in consideration the minutes also playing on the field, so he scores every goal per game per minute, right? So he scores every 57. So how can I even increase even in my own environment? Because you can say, well, there are different environments, there are different situations, but within the same environment, how can I increase that? So as you can see from the fall to the spring, the fall, he scored 9 goals. He's our current goal scoring now. He has scored 12 goals and same amount of games started with a less minute plays, and he has a percentage, obviously, they're scoring 1.33 games per match per game. The second forward as well, as you can see in the past, even though when it was an environment, he scored 1 goal. How can I make him better, right? So he's been is the longest on the program, and at least, right, the difference between the first and the second one, the second one is a slightly raw than the first one, but by just positioning himself, can he still maintain the abilities to score goals and by just being in the correct spots? So there's a slightly within that. Obviously, the other ones on the bottom are guys that are playing as a wide attacking mids, or they play also as wingers. They could depends in our environment, they're wide attacking mids. And also, how can they maintain? Now, there's more. I focus more on the nines, because in the other ones, the variables are that they probably will be crossing, or they will be obviously part of a cutback or a through ball. So still within them, how can we improve? There's a slightly from this season, we have maintained the nines to keep the same amount of goals, but also there's a few guys, obviously depending on the minutes play and the times that they're on the field, how can we still have a maintenance on the things that we do. So even within that, the wide attacking mids are there, right? How can we maintain them and still making goals or scoring opportunities, right? So the next one, this is just some of the activities that we use in terms of the front third. You're gonna see them on video as well. That allows us to focus on what I mentioned before. The first one, it is, can we have a general intention, an objective itself of how can we get in behind? We avoid crosses on the side lanes. We want to get in the half lanes, and we want to teach. Obviously, we teach them to get into those spaces, and then within, obviously, the individual actions, we correct all the positioning. We correct obviously the moment and the direction and the speed of the things that they do, either with the ball, without the ball. And are we able to, like I said, create more chances, score goals, and help them and develop, because we're still in the development side for our guys. Everything within the context of games, everything within the context of competition, everything within the context of going on goal, right? I see this common mistake, which we want to improve the ability of getting there. And sometimes we are scoring in small, tiny goals. We're not using goalkeepers. We're not using. So we try to incorporate as much as possible within that. The next step of this, it is the study of my own environment. It will be the backline. So the opposite. How can I prevent goal scoring opportunities, and also how can I deny scoring chances? That will be my next step within my research in terms of my own environment, because I think even though this is obviously, I'm just speaking from the attacking side, our defenders get better because they get in a daily basis with these situations, and they know what the opposition wants to do, even though we're working on attacking. So unconsciously, they become better on defending the box as well. So I don't have data, obviously, because we're not talking about the defending, but how are we good within what in our environment we call the controlled press, which means when we are in a low block, right, defending these areas, how can we become better? So here's some of the activities, right? It's just everything on a team context. So it's a 3 versus 2, 4 versus 3, and it's just providing and fixing the position, the moment, and the direction of the speed. So it's how can our players get into those positions? And obviously, it's the biggest piece is the coaching, right? This is a kudos to our assistant coaches and obviously the people that's in behind try to overload with information, and also finding the moments to fix what is wrong and what is not good. The biggest thing, like I said at the beginning, was how can we fix with the common objective, how to get into those areas. We need to train them. We need to get into those spots. So these are, some of the exercises you saw on the screen in different ways, right? Here is this one, a specific one, and this is early a year and a half ago. A year ago, where our nines didn't know how to they still make the habits of not knowing where to run or where to put themselves. And this is a game for the nine. The nine, it is the guy on the green penny, right? Those are the nines, the two guys that you saw on the top. See their runs, they don't know where to put themselves. So that's why I said the part where it comes to make them understand what is the position, when is the moment that I need to move based on the opposing team, and how can we help them with a simple activity that helps them become better in those areas. Like I said, this is another example. This is a 2v2 plus the goal is 3v3 with a +1 in the box, which is the +1. It is the green penny is the 9, right? Most likely, where do they need to get themselves? They still make the mistakes. It is how can we train it on a daily basis so they know? And we still seeing that they're not going in the correct spots, but how with the activity makes them understand that that this creates some situation coaching, and that helps them improve within that. This is one of my favorite activities. This is done every single -1 day. It is a 5v5 game. No more numbers, right? This is exactly to have the perfect picture of a 3v3 in the center lane, where our guys are getting into cutbacks. This is another one here as well. There's another different scenarios where they can see the 9 running there in a straight lane cutback and knowing where do they need to do. With some defending as well, giving some reward to the defenders as well if they win the balls. So it's 3 versus 1 to 2 versus 1 to a 3 versus 2. And then knowing that the players need to finalize those actions. Again, this is 3 versus 2s to get into something that people has done, but in the correct areas where it happens, and then exactly where to exploit spacing behind, and where is the moment to pass the ball, when is the moment to do 1 touch, when is the moment to do 2 touches, when is the moment to dribble, when is the moment to make the cross, make the pass, and where is the moment to position myself, and then the direction of every action that we do. This is again another different games where there's just 3 versus 2, like this one. If you have exploited, utilize the other player that is in the center lane because he already has an advantage. Here's another example. And then again, how can we create the 2 versus 1, and how can we get in behind the line? This is early crosses, right? This is exactly this exercise here. I start seeing as well that the far lane guys, I'm gonna pause it here, were exactly our guys wanted to do early crosses, but not understanding when is the early cross comes, right? So this is just with a higher line, with an advantage to understand being on onside positions and trying to find, because there's enough space in behind. And this is where the assist percentage you saw as well, exactly the area where the crosser it is. Can he understand that, okay, when we have this advantage, you don't need to dribble. It's already, if we have a 9 going there, utilize him, right? Then it's about the speed of the ball, the speed of obviously of the things to do. Then this is another different scenario, 3 versus 2, the same thing, right? And then finding the players in the positions that they need to be. More examples, right? If we are in dynamic situations or we're in static situations. So as you can see, when there's more room, when there's less room, but same intention. We implement this on warm-ups. This is our final of conference 7 months ago. This is our assistant coach doing 3 versus 2, same scenarios on a half, preparing our subs. We call it finishers, our finishers for the second time. This is another one. This is our halftime. This is our pre-game. Again, these are 3 versus 2, 4 versus 3s. Before we get to warm up, the players are super familiar with this, and it's just activation, no coaching. It's just basically get him into, and you can see the other side, how static, different, right? Doing patterns. Can we still make with a couple actions with some decision making within that? Like I said, this is even implemented in pregame, halftime warmups. Obviously, when allows us. So obviously, we have a style in our club, and then we attack, right? So and then now that we're speaking about exploring space, so now this is our environment, right? This is our actions. As you can see, they replicate, and this is the idea. How can we replicate? So here we go. Is the early cross that we're talking about, right? Or getting the boxes in the spaces that we need to do. This is our environment. This is all last season. This is nothing about current season. This is last season. And again, and this is how can we put all this in terms of, sometimes it's not perfect. We may still make it better, because either the opposition, like I said, the opposition didn't give us a good challenge, or can we still finalize those actions with the best way possible, right? This is a good one here. He adjusts for the cutback, and then the other one just get into the lane. One is the 9 and one is the 10, and they still adjust even though it looks easier. What are they? How can they get into those areas? How can we have runners there, and how can we score goals? And like I said, can we maintain the data of the expected goals, right? So this is what I call progressive, that last goal. This is not the best one, but still are in the areas that they need to score goals. This is 1-to-1. There's a runner, stretch the back line, but if there's a shot or a cross, it comes there. So if there's no runner, there's no goal. There's no one stretching that back line, and there's no one into those spots. So these are not the same actions. They're all different. This is a good one, right? This is exactly one of the training that you saw, and there's runner. Here we go. Same as the kind of the professional setups that you guys I show at the beginning, right? Here's again, right? 2 versus 1. Can we explore space? Runner in the middle, stretches, creates more space for the guy that is shooting. All our goals come from those areas, right? We do score some of us on far lane, but it has to be from either early cross or because something triggered there unconsciously from past habits. As well, it's gonna come here another goal in the far side. So from set pieces as well, we incorporate this. This is a throw-in that will finalize with a goal. And as we see, if you see the same kind of the same 2 versus 1, 2 versus 1, 2 versus 1, to a through ball, 3 versus 2, to finalize with a goal. That's just again in transition, we're high defensively, but when we get it, are we in dynamic situations to score and make runs like this, even on the good spots over there? Again, put people under pressure, and when we become dynamic, it is a 3 versus 2 to 2 versus 1, and it's exactly that the same. And the guys know where to score, where to pass to those progressing options. Here's another one, 3 versus 2. This is 7 months ago. Again, this is a good one. We win it, 4 versus 3. Explore the space, find runner, just cycling. This is the final conference last week. So You know, we see this is this year, just a few there from this season. Runner stretches the line if he finds a cross or a shot. This is a good one. 2 versus 1 again. Finds it in behind. Runner, see how the front line and the back and the adjusted. Again, the 9 where he has to be. People says why the goal scorers, because they are in a good position to score goals. Here's again, runner stretching. If he decides to pass or he decides to shoot. Again, same through goals. Can we get into those areas? This is the guy that's scoring the goals. This is the guy that I was telling the 12 goals this season. Again, can we get into those half lanes? 3 versus 2. And can we score goals? Again, the direction of what do we do our things, right? The beginning, like I said, a lot of different habits from the players are running in different ways, and it's how to teach them the general team intention and obviously helping them assist them. Here's another one, get in there. You know, we know that there's always someone there. So the players are already, this is a good one here again. This is a different season, same pattern, same goal. So this is one of my favorites because it kind of replicates. I'm just gonna put it again. It's the same one with different personnel because these 2 were different, and then with the same way. Again, this is the early cross that we're getting, or are we getting in the edges of the half box spaces? Again, 3 versus 2. Again, early cross, exactly from the assist, right, that we're talking about, and runner in the center lane. They know that there's someone going over there. Here's again, these are 9. He will not do that before. Now he does it all the time. Here's our 9. He's in a spot to receive the ball, and then now he's going to start getting into the position that he needs to be. And here we go again. And this is Botafogo from Brazil. So again, right, just to finalize a little bit, the same thing, right, in terms of how can we improve as well within our own environments, right? So first season, fall 22, 36 goals, spring 44 goals. We increased from this is obviously after we went all the way to the final nationals, but we scored 51, so we still increased. And then so the percentage, right, or goals per game, so it's our goal difference, and also so it's how can we improve in our own environment. So we're in this one right now. We're still below by 0.3, but can we maintain into those? As last year was a good year, but can we improve and maintain? Obviously, our season hasn't finished. We still have games to go, so we can either increase it or decrease it. But if we decrease it, we'll be slightly low. If we increase it, we should be aiming, at least we can aim within that what we have now. So this is another example of how we define our zones and goals and assists, right, within our own environment. And then we just keep track of our goal scoring analysis, right? Where are we getting the goals? So the guy that I was showing you in zone 1, where does he scores the most goals? Whereas those they score the most goals. They in all goals what you saw in the video, where are they score, right? So where and this one, where are they coming from? So it's zone 1, which is defined in front of the PK spot, right? We score this is last season, 25 goals from zone 2. So meaning coming from the half lanes, right? What I was showing previously, we don't cross from any of the side lanes unless it's an early cross, and we have a few there. We have 6, obviously, right? And this could be either free kicks or corners as well. So how can we maintain that? And then, like I said, just graphics of our yellow. It is coming from zone 2. So this is where we score the most goals, right? The pink, it is the through balls. So meaning one is cutbacks or going into the center lane, or the through balls are the pink ones. This is this season. Can we maintain it again? So this one was last season. This is this season. So the white one, it is coming from zone 2. Most of our goals are coming from there. Our pink are our through balls. Are we scoring from zone 2? Also coming from that zone. So here's the comparison between the fall and the spring, right? We are there. We're maintaining our actions. We're maintaining what we need and how we need to score goals. And there's a graphic on the right side of how can you, the areas that we define. Okay, how can those goals come from zone 2 or zone 4 through goals? And then if it comes from through goals, zone 2, can they be finalized with zone 1? Same thing, right? Our goal scoring data, right? So our guys, where do we score goals as well? We keep track of what minutes do we score goals, and our assists. This is this season, right? So this is another study that we're doing as well with box entries as well. How many times? This is more the field tilt that I was saying at the beginning, right? And then we have maintained our actions of our box entries, right? So meaning how can we step into those into that box as many times as possible? How many shots do we take, obviously, inside the box? How do we take more shots and avoid shots outside unless we need to? Because sometimes we'll have teams that they're on a low block, but still, even though being on a low block, how can we make it? The only difference is the challenge, right? The challenge increases that we have more players in those areas, so we need to slightly create it better in order to have opportunities to score goals. So this is all our shots, right? Where they come from, and then we see the goals where they come from. What I was just showing. These are expected goals this season. It's 0.7. It's pretty high. 0.7 and 0.5 in through that specific center lane. We're still scoring within the percentage of the goals on the half lanes or those areas close to that. We don't, as you see, we're 0. We haven't scored any goal from the side lanes, right? So that's not something that we want to do in terms of what we try to accomplish. And it shows on the right is the goal location in terms of conversion rate as well. This is the same in terms of the guys that score goals, right, based on their own individual performance. The green means the more shots they take. What I was telling about also their actions. So meaning if I take 5 actions, a green means how efficient they are, right, within the dots. So the bigger it is, and this big dot here is our 9, and then one of our other 9s also. So he misses more, right? Like I said, we still trying to make him better. He's raw. He's not. Execution of these decisions are good, but the execution are not great. We're still working, but he still scores goals by just being good positioning. This was last year, right? Our scoring leaders. So here's the 9 finished in second place with 9 goals. What you saw on the screen. And then this year he's with 12. So how can we still make him better from season to season? And how can we maintain our other guys? And like I said, there's still more variables, but there's guys within the wide attacking areas that they still do score goals, or they are increasing their expected assists. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I just want, like I said, if you have any question, I just want to show a little bit of my process. Obviously it comes to part of the process as well as the coaching, but the main thing it is how can we increase the designing of our activities, I would say, in the box. So if we really want to score goals, we should do more of these things on a daily basis. So obviously, in our periodization, we maintain as much as possible to do every day to finalize on goal, to do a lot of activities on goal. We do a lot of defending as well because that's our core as well in our club. But we have to have a balance because this is what makes us win games and score goals. So any question, that's all from me, Emil.
Wow, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I really, Luis, I'm impressed. I absolutely love it. Especially the practices which you showed on the screen. There was one with 5v5 with the cutbacks, which yeah, I really like. It's great that there's lots of stuff which is opposed rather than unopposed, which you just mentioned, that it kind of like old style practices from the past when you've got like too many in the box or maybe mannequins or something like that, and wide, deliveries, corners from the corners, from sidelines, and then you finish in all to the goal, to the empty goal or the goal with the goalkeeper. So totally, different animal to what we have now, because we're Wimbledon Academy, we exactly on the same page in terms of understanding the practices and the process of especially youth development. So yeah, I appreciate it. It's great to share your knowledge with us, guys. If you have any questions, I guess there will be plenty of them that you want to ask. Then you can raise your hand or unmute yourself if you have the question. Maybe I will start with the one, how you work with the individual player in terms of, let's say, this number 9, which you mentioned, with regards to understanding. But we saw already that on some of the practices, they didn't really get it on, and they didn't know when to go, how to go, and what is a good time to go in behind. As you said, this is so common that players wants to always drop as a 9 rather than go in behind, to be in this spot which should be occupied by 10 or 8 or the midfielders coming into the box, just to tap in. So when you work with the individual, you speak with them based on examples on the video, or you work with them mainly like intervention on the pitch during the practices to understand where is the space to go, and you ask them the question? I'm just asking about the coaching, maybe a bit more detail of how you get this job done, because we can clearly see the progress from, let's say, the 1 goal or 2 goals now to even 12 goals per season, which is a great achievement. But how you work on them like individually?
Okay, I think all of the above. You kind of start answering your own question in terms of how do we do it. I mean, there's multiple things that we do, right? So, but within the individual, and he's a special case because he's not a guy that likes videos. He's not a guy that wants to, sit down or he's not a guy that takes care of his own development. So the first thing is understanding your players, right? So like I said, I want to share my process. This is always variables of your own environment. You need to know your players. You need to understand the needs of your players. Now you can use the context, and this is what I wanted. My learning intention is understand what you need to do as a team, what you need to do. But at the end is you need to understand that you have your own players and you need to know how to do it. So yes, we do it in multiple ways, but I'm going to put the example of him specifically. He doesn't like video. He doesn't like that. So we need to find a ways to overload him with some type of information. I've started at the beginning to know him, right? So I started sending videos, and by then you will have, because I've done it with different players. But let's say I sent this same clips that I show you. Hey, here is Haaland, for example. Take a peek of Haaland. I mean, he's gonna watch it, right? He's gonna watch it. He's not gonna ask questions. He's not gonna know what it is. So there's multiple ways. So first, it is put him into situations, right? So situation coaching. So basically, I'm gonna put him into situations where I'm gonna overload what he needs to do. There's gonna be reference coaching when I need to put a reference and maybe coach him. Like you saw the activity, I might need to explain the nines specifically on that activity, right? And I'm going to overload what it is, the position, and why it's important. So that's one way of doing it. The other way it is as well. So we have different dynamics. With this case particularly, that he has a good relationship with more than me than with our assistant. So our assistant sits with him and overload him with not knowing him. So is with him, it is not telling him, asking questions. It will be more, hey, take a just to put an example, take a look at this specific action that you did, right? There will not be a lot of reference in terms of coaching him and telling him what you should do here, what, because he's not a player of that. So he's a player more of, okay, look at yourself. You should have done this, you should have done that, more robotically, we'll say, right? But still, I'm overloading him with information that at least he triggers. You know what is funny? This past weekend, he scored another goal, which I didn't have it on a video, and he run in the specific position that he had to. And the assistant coach said something that kind of grabbed my attention, because he said, "Do you hear they were having a chat behind the bus?" And he was talking to somebody else with another buddy over the phone, and said, "Yeah, man, I just did a straight run." And this is one of the things that they hear a lot from me. So I just kind of say, "Hey, what do you need to do?" I mean, in this case, you need to do a straight run and try to your position behind the shoulder of the center back. Depends on the situation, because sometimes it could be the first one or the second center back. But just listening to him, what he's saying, he's so overloaded with information from what I said or the assistant says, that he's already, unconsciously, his brain is dictated to do that, right? And at the end, you want him to do that without me telling him to do that, right? So yes, sometimes we remind, with this particular case, we overload. Is more robotic in terms of because he doesn't like things, and I'm not gonna change the way he is, right? I'm gonna adapt to his needs, and his needs, it is, give me, I get it, and it's okay. And there might be other players, there might be other nines that I'm gonna put you in the past. Another nine that he was not here anymore, but I will send him a video, take a peek, and it will be a conversation. What do you think about his run? Oh, he did in this spot, he did in this spot. So there's more coaching within that. So like I said, multiple. It could be sitting with the player. It could be overloading with the player. It could be sending just a video. I don't need any information. I just want him to see him. I don't want him to identify. Don't we ask players to say, hey, when you look at your player, try to look at the position that you play. Look what they're doing. They usually don't look at the game the way that we do look as coaches. They look as fans. They look as spectators. They're not looking for a specific, that work, because they don't understand the intention behind. Now, it links with information on training, with my information, and I guess it helps. Like I said, by any means, I'm trying to change the world, and this is already there. I mean, this has been done since the 1930s. What I'm trying to say, because I even clip videos from the 70s, and these patterns can happen. The difference is the evolution. It comes to the video, the resources, the data, the information. We're better coaching as well. We know what to say, what to ask. There's more teaching. There's all the things, and at the end, that's what it matters. That's what I always say, we're just facilitators for the players to become better in what they do. So that's the way that we do it, specifically with that one. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, of course, 100%. Right, guys, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask now. We will have maybe 2 more questions.
Hi, I have a question.
Go on.
Yeah, coach. So my question is, when you are preparing a session, how long do you take, especially when you're talking about running behind the lines, or when you are preparing? Now, my other question is, when you are preparing a game, do you usually do the same drills over and over for them to get on the weekend the right way you want it to be committed, or how do you do it when you're preparing a session?
That's a good question. I think within, let's say, if I'm an attacking objective, right, that week, I mean, it will depend everyone's environment, but let's say my environment, if I'm playing, let's say, we have two ways of doing it. So either fix situations from previous games versus situations that we might encounter in the next game. And this is just, like I said, I don't know if it is the best way. It's just the way that I do it. It is, I focus prior to the situation. So let's say past game, our defending situations weren't good. We're struggling within that because it's so fresh. I stick to the first, maybe depending on our days of training, but if it is our first days, we stick to more to what didn't work because it's and I'm talking because I'm in a term at the UPSL, which is our under 90s, is the third tier, right? So first team, second team, and then our team. With younger, it could be different, right? But within, let's say, that team, it's hybrid. So closer to the game, actions that they were not good. So it's fresh because it's fresh. They have experienced it, and I want them to have make it better, right? Closer to the game, it's more for me. It's more okay preparation to ways to what they needed, right? Most likely. So now where I link the two things as well, it is there's some activities that we do on a regular basis, right? Because it ends with a goal, right? It ends with and they need to score goals. So I would say there's a few games that we do on a regular basis, like the -1. It's an activity just to preparation. It's -1 towards the game, and I want them to be ready towards the game. We'll do it every single day, meaning -1. Now the other ones, I would say, depends, but we'll finalize what some of these activities is either part of the training session. Is not the session; it is a part of the training session that it will link to the main objective. So maybe sometimes we're working, to put an example as well, we're working, let's say, towards the weekend, and we need to get explore space in behind. So maybe the through balls, right? The finalized designing will be more through balls than what the other actions, because that's what that demand that specific day. But can we go through goal? Can we finalize with that? We have luxury sometimes that we have a lot of goalkeepers, so we utilize them. I utilize them. I try to make it, because if there's an activity, I'd rather do it finishing on a goal so I can still fix. Then is the other thing. Some of these activities that you saw, they're not the core of the activity. They're just a part, right? But it's just a situation just to prepare for something else with more numbers, because there might be a bigger situation, a team intention that we want to do that is not as specifically on the final third. So, but how can I link it? So I'll do, like I said, a hybrid, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
I have a question, Coach Les.
Yeah.
What information do you give the guys that are crossing the ball? In regards, let's say the 9 is making a forward run, but the guy that is crossing the ball is thinking about bringing the ball back into the PK area. So what information do you give the guy that are crossing the ball?
Well, it's a principle. So as a main principle, it is okay if you're talking about that wide player, and it is the relationship. Okay, when the back line, let's say the back line allows me to gives me space, I want to go there. So as a team, we want to go there. How we want to do it, it will depend on slightly the situation. Are we doing it, like I said, in my environment with our wide attacking mids, right? Our wing backs, as you saw one of the actions, depending on the scenario that I might encounter over the weekend. It might be that the weekend I might not have that my wing back will need to go as much as high as possible. But if it does, okay, him and the other guy and the attacking wide mid and the 9, they need to understand, okay, how can we exploit space in behind, and how can we make it? So the information the first one is, as an objective itself, is how can we get in behind? Now, I need to coach because the situation, if the backline gives me this problem, okay, is scenario 1. If the backline gives me this problem, then it's scenario 2. So they need to know the positions, and then it comes to the decision. Let's say once that they're on a half lane, right, and they have explored the space, okay, what is your choices, right? You will have a choice in the center lane, which is the guy that is running a straight lane. You have a choice in a cutback, and you will have a choice on the far side. So we need to occupy those spots. Now, where do you put yourself? One step here, one step there. It depends on what the backline is going to do, but we do have to have the people over there. So now it comes to the individual intention. So, okay, to the player that has the ball, right? Who is my best choice to play a pass in behind the backline? Still, isn't the guy behind the backline that is going to go? Why? Not only because of the data, because that's the space that he's the closest to the goal. That's my reference. I don't tell them not because the data on the game, on the training. I tell them who is the closer option to score a goal close to goal. Is the guy that is there in behind the backline and the goalkeeper. That's the closer one. Who is the second one? If this one is blocked, that means the goalkeeper, it is blocking, and the center back is a good defendant. What is your second option? It might be the far side, right? Because there's a gap. If the other guy doesn't do that, he doesn't create the space for the other guy. If the other guy is not here, it doesn't create space for this one. So the position allows the players to create, those are the individual intentions, which are the two principles, are creating space. So someone is creating space. Who is creating space for who? And then it is who I need to pass. Do I play to this guy, which is the closer progression to goal? Or is this one who is the second progression to goal? Or is this one that is here? I don't know. I need to teach them based on what is the situation, but I need to put the players in that specific situation. And then I coach based on the designing of my exercise. So I create my exercise and I go, okay, what is the possible coaching point, if you want to call it that way? When he doesn't do this, you do this. When you do this. So when I'm assessing my own training, I'm given, depending on what the mistake that he's doing or the things that he needs to improve. And then his execution. We talk about technique, the execution of, okay, if you decide now you're making a good choice, now you talk about the execution, the position that you hit it with your body position, probably on top of the ball. Do you hit it with your outside of the foot? Because you might not need your outside of the foot. You might need, so it depends. I go narrow it depending on the need of each individual, right? But it depends on the situation within the context of those training designing.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna wrap up and finish again. Big thank you, Luis, for sharing your knowledge. I think it was one of the best presentations we've got so far. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and yeah, good luck in your career, because maybe we can see you in the next couple of years as a head coach in MLS. I hope so.
Thank you, Emil. Appreciate the opportunity. Always happy to share. Like I said, this is just my process. Don't copy my process, just copy the context. Because everyone has their own process, but I think it's valuable that you can do what I did. Just do research, help yourself to understand the information behind. And like I said, everyone who's doing something out there that it works, I'm not saying my thing is better. It just works for me. So hopefully helps, and I wish all the best to everyone on their coaching journeys.
Yeah, have a good one. Enjoy your journey, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. And if you can spread a good word on the internet about the webinar, will be good. I will really appreciate it. There's a post on the LinkedIn. There's a post on the Twitter which you can reshare. I'll try to upload the video tomorrow and share the link with you so you can rewatch in your free time. So again, thanks so much, and have a lovely evening for the guys from the UK, and have a lovely day for the guys in the US, because you still have plenty of hours in front of you, and we were going for the sleep in the next couple of hours. So yeah, have a good one. Enjoy.
Thank you, Emil.
All the best, guys.
Thank you.